the shadows of loose change, a secret begins to breathe. A Jefferson nickel from 2000 glints like a forgotten clue. History hums softly as destiny slides across a tabletop. Then a Lincoln 1-cent coin from 2008 enters the frame. Small copper face, big questions no one dares to ask. The music swells, every scratch feels intentional. A hand hesitates because legends are never harmless. From another pocket, a Roosevelt dime dated 1976 appears. The year echoes freedom fireworks and unfinished promises. 3 ordinary coins align in an extraordinary moment. What if value was never about money at all? Close-ups reveal errors, time scars, and hidden paths. A whisper says some finds choose their finder. Tension rises as reality bends around spare change. Every flip sounds like a countdown to truth. This is not a collection. It is a calling. Blink and you miss the detail that changes everything. The past collides with the present in metal and fate. One discovery will rewrite what you thought you knew. When the screen fades, you will never look at coins the same way. The history of the Jefferson nickel in the year 2000 begins during a period when the United States Mint was experiencing renewed public interest in modern coinage as the new millennium brought excitement to collectors nationwide. The Jefferson nickel design, created by artist Felix Schlag in 1938, had already been in circulation for more than 60 years by the time the 2000 issue was produced, and it remained one of the most recognizable coins in American pocket change. The year 2000 marked the continuation of the long-running tradition of minting Jefferson nickels, with the classic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the depiction of his famous home Monticello on the reverse, which had become an enduring symbol of stability in U.S. coinage. During this time, the mint operated with advanced technology compared to earlier decades, allowing for cleaner strikes, sharper details, and more consistent quality, which is why the 2000 nickel often appears, with crisp features when found in uncirculated condition. As collectors look back on the 2000 Jefferson nickel, they see more than just a 5-cent piece. They see a representation of the mint at the turn of the millennium, a time when the U.S. economy was strong, and millions of coins were being produced to meet the demands of everyday commerce. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint both struck large quantities of the 2000 nickel, and each mint mark tells its own story about production quality and distribution patterns across the country. The Philadelphia Mint Mark P and the Denver Mint Mark D were used to distinguish each facility's output, and while both struck vast numbers, the Philadelphia nickels of the year often attract attention for their strong strikes and clean surfaces. The Denver issues are also popular, especially with collectors who enjoy assembling mint-marked sets from each year. The Jefferson nickel in 2000 kept all the design elements that Americans had known for generations. Among these features was the bold inscription of the word liberty, written in cursive style, across the left side of Jefferson's portrait. This signature element was inspired by Jefferson's own handwriting, giving the coin a personal connection to the historic figure himself. The motto, "In God We Trust," and the phrase 5 cents, along with the words United States of America, remained as the traditional components of the design, making the coin a symbol of continuity through decades of national change. The reverse image of Monticello continued to represent Jefferson's architectural vision and his influence on American culture, politics, and ideals of the 18th century, even as the coin circulated widely in the fast-paced modern world of the year 2000. When discussing the 2000 Jefferson nickel, it is important to understand its place in the broader timeline of the series, because at this point, the design had not yet undergone the changes that would begin only a few years later. The westward journey. Nickel series introduced in 2004 would bring new reverse designs and ultimately lead to a new obverse portrait in 2006. But in 2000, the coin still represented the classic original version, and for many collectors, this adds a layer of nostalgia. There was also increasing interest in modern coin collecting during the early 2000s due to the new state quarters program, which was extremely popular and brought millions of new collectors into the hobby. This widespread enthusiasm for coins indirectly increased attention on other denominations, including the Jefferson nickel, and many people began saving high-grade examples of the 2000 nickel for the future. The production methods of the year 2000, Jefferson nickel, also reflected improvements in minting technology. The mint used advanced presses and more refined quality standards compared to earlier decades. As a result, the coins from this year often show better luster and strike sharpness details, which collectors appreciate. When examining Jefferson's hair facial features and the architectural lines of Monticello uncirculated and mint state examples of the 2000 nickel often display a strong metallic sheen and attractive eye appeal, especially when preserved in original mint sets. These sets, which included coins from both Philadelphia and Denver, allowed collectors to obtain pristine examples right from the mint, and today they remain a popular way to acquire high-quality 2000 Jefferson nickels. In general circulation, the 2000 Jefferson nickel lived a typical life traveling through countless hand stores and banks across the country. It was used for small purchases, public transportation, vending machines, and other everyday transactions, making it a quiet but constant presence in American daily life. This everyday usage also means that many of the 2000 nickels found in circulation today show signs of wear, loss of detail, and fading luster, which reflects their journey through 25 years of commerce. Collectors often search for well-preserved examples in spare change, but finding a high-grade coin in circulation becomes less likely with every passing year, making mint-state pieces increasingly desirable. From a collector's perspective, the 2000 Jefferson nickel holds significance, not because of rarity, but because of its representation of a stable, uninterrupted era in American numismatic history. It is a coin that bridges the old and the new, the 20th century and the 21st, and it stands as one of the last years before major changes would reshape the nickel's appearance in the mid-2000s. Some varieties and minor errors, such as slight die cracks off center strikes or over-polished dies, can occasionally be found on nickels from the year 2000, and these varieties add another layer of interest to collectors who enjoy searching through rolls and bags of coins, hoping to discover something unusual. The story of the 2000 Jefferson nickel is ultimately one of continuity, tradition, and subtle transition. While the design stayed the same, the world around it was rapidly changing. The year 2000 brought technological growth shifts in culture and a growing digital society, yet the small nickel remained a physical reminder of history, heritage, and craftsmanship. Coin collectors appreciate the 2000 issue not only as a collectible piece, but also as a marker of the era in which it was minted, representing the crossing into a new millennium while holding on to the familiar, artistic identity that had defined the Jefferson nickel series for decades. As we explore deeper into the history of the Jefferson nickel from the year 2000, we begin to understand how this small coin reflects a much larger story about the United States Mint, the evolution of American currency, and the changing interests of collectors at the dawn of the new millennium. The year 2000 was more than a number. It marked a symbolic transition from one century into the next, and many aspects of American culture, technology, and daily life were shifting. Coin production was no exception, and the minting of the Jefferson nickel during this time helps us appreciate how modern techniques and long-standing traditions came together to shape the 5-cent coin that people carried in their pockets across the country. In 2000, the mint was operating with more advanced machinery than ever before, allowing for improved striking pressure, more precise die alignment, and better control over quality. The result was that many nickels produced that year display a crispness and clarity not always seen in earlier decades. This improvement is visible in Jefferson's portrait as the finer details of his hair, cheekbone, and collar stand out sharply against the smooth background. The Monticello building on the reverse also benefits from this technology, with the lines of the columns, windows, and steps appearing more accurate and well-defined. These details matter not only to collectors, but also to historians, because they show the mint's progress toward adopting 21st century standards of quality. The economic environment of the year 2000 also played a role in the production of these coins. A strong economy meant higher demand for circulating coinage as businesses and consumers engaged in frequent transactions. This demand pushed both the Philadelphia and Denver mints to produce millions of Jefferson nickels, ensuring that the 5-cent coin remained one of the most widely used forms of currency in daily commerce. Across supermarkets, bus stations, gas stations, diners, and retail stores, the 2000 Jefferson nickel continued its role as a dependable companion in everyday economic life. It was a coin that touched nearly every corner of American society, silently supporting the financial exchanges that kept communities running. At the same time, coin collecting as a hobby was experiencing new growth fueled by widespread excitement. Over the State Quarters program, millions of people who had never collected coins before were suddenly saving coins, checking their pockets for mint marks, and learning about the mints and their history. This surge of interest helped people rediscover the Jefferson nickel as well. When they came across clean, well-preserved examples of the year 2000 nickel, they often kept them aside, hoping that one day these coins would become valuable or at least interesting. The history of the Lincoln cent in 2008 is a story of transition, legacy, and anticipation as collectors and the general public approached the end of a long-running reverse design and prepared for one of the most important changes in modern United States coinage. During 2008, the Lincoln cent still carried the familiar memorial reverse that had been in use since 1959. A design created to honor the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and to celebrate the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. For nearly 50 years, this reverse had appeared on billions of coins, becoming one of the most recognizable designs in American circulation. As the year 2008 began, expectations grew for the coming 2009 bicentennial program, which would replace the memorial design with a series of 4 historical reverses, each marking a major chapter in Lincoln's life. Because of that upcoming change, the 2008 Lincoln cent quickly gained importance as the final full year of the memorial reverse, and collectors started to view it as the last symbol of an era that began during the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower. The obverse in 2008 continued to feature Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Lincoln, first introduced in 1909. The design had remained largely unchanged for nearly a century, capturing Lincoln's thoughtful expression and honoring his legacy as the 16th President of the United States. The portrait had survived multiple artistic trends, metal composition changes, and public preferences, proving its enduring value as a national symbol. The 2008 issues were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and both facilities produced large numbers to meet circulation demands, even though overall use of pennies in commerce had been declining due to rising production costs and changes in consumer behavior. The metal composition remained the same as it had since 1982, with a core of zinc-coated. In copper, a cost-saving measure that continued to be controversial, because the cent cost more to produce than its actual face value. Despite this, the United States Mint maintained production to support everyday transactions, vending machines, cash registers, and traditional banking needs. As 2008 progressed, collectors paid close attention to die varieties, minor striking issues, and quality differences between coins from each mint. Higher-grade examples, especially those with sharp details, brilliant luster, and clean surfaces, were saved in large numbers by hobbyists wanting to preserve the final memorial year for future generations. Beyond the physical coin, the cultural context of 2008 also shaped the significance of the Lincoln cent. The country was facing economic uncertainty, rising metal prices, and debates about whether the penny should be discontinued altogether. Many economists argued that the cent had outlived its usefulness, while others believed it remained a necessary part of American identity and financial tradition. This debate added interest to the 2008 issue, giving it a sense of historical weight that extended beyond normal mintage statistics or design features. In schools, classrooms, and museums, educators pointed to the Lincoln Cent as a powerful tool for teaching history, civic responsibility, and national memory. Lincoln represented unity, leadership, and resilience, and the cent carrying his portrait served as a small but constant reminder of those values. For millions of Americans, the penny was often the first coin a child held or collected, making the 2008 piece an emotional link between generations. By the end of the year, excitement for the 2009 redesign was widespread. Numismatists awaited the 4 special reverses that would highlight Lincoln's birth and early childhood, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. Many collectors prepared folders, albums, and cases to document the entire journey, with the 2008 cent standing as the final chapter before the transformation. The United States Mint also prepared for increased public attention, improving production quality, and planning educational outreach programs. The transition was seen not just as a design change, but as a national storytelling moment, with each coin serving as a miniature historical document. Because of all these factors, the 2008 Lincoln Cent became far more than a routine yearly issue. It represented the culmination of nearly 50 years of the memorial design, the close of a half-century in American numismatic art, and the threshold of a historic redesign that would redefine the cent for a new generation. Today, collectors look back on the 2008 Lincoln Cent as a key piece in the overall Lincoln coinage timeline, a bridge between tradition and innovation, a coin that marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in the story of America's most famous and most widely used coin. The 2008 issue continues to be saved in rolls bags and albums by hobbyists who understand that these cents carry with them the cultural, economic, and artistic meaning of their time, giving the collector a deeper appreciation for the small copper-coated coin that has touched nearly every aspect of American life for more than a century. As interest in the 2008 Lincoln Cent grew among collectors, historians, and educators, the broader context of the Lincoln Cent's long evolution became increasingly important in understanding why the final memorial reverse year held so much meaning. The Lincoln Cent had already been in circulation for nearly 100 years, and by 2008, it had become deeply woven into American culture, everyday commerce, and national symbolism. The decisions made in 2008 were not isolated events, but the result of decades of artistic, economic, and political developments that shaped the identity of the cent and prepared the nation for the dramatic changes scheduled for 2009. One of the key elements in appreciating the history of the 2008 cent is understanding how the memorial reverse itself came into existence back in 1959. The design change introduced during that year celebrated the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and replaced the original wheat ear reverse created by Brenner. From 1959 onward, the memorial design served as a tribute not only to Lincoln himself, but also to the monumental structure that had become a national icon of tribute, reflection, and unity. This design remained untouched until the major redesign of 2009, making the 2008 cent the last of a long and uninterrupted era. Collectors in 2008 understood that they were witnessing a closing chapter, and many took extra steps to preserve coins with strong strikes, minimal wear, and bright mint luster. Another important element shaping the 2008 cent story is the decades-long conversation about the future of the penny, which had become a major topic of discussion long before 2008. As early as the 1980s, policymakers and economists were questioning whether the cent had practical use in an increasingly digital and fast-moving economy. Inflation had reduced its purchasing power to the point that the cent could not buy anything on its own, and merchants often expressed frustration with handling large volumes of low-value coins. These economic debates gave a new layer of significance to the 2008 cent because as the last memorial year, it also represented one of the final years before calls for discontinuation grew stronger. In addition to economics, the year 2008 also illustrated the ongoing challenges of producing the cent. Profitability concerns were rising as metal prices fluctuated and manufacturing costs exceeded the coin's face value. The mint continued to follow congressional directives to produce the cent despite these challenges, and 2008 became one of the years where large quantities were still needed to satisfy both circulation and collector demand. The story of the 1976 P. Roosevelt dime begins in an era when the United States Mint was operating at a historic pace, producing billions of circulating coins while the nation celebrated its 200th anniversary. Although the dime itself did not receive a special bicentennial design like the quarter, the half dollar, or the dollar, the 1976 P, Roosevelt dime remains a product of an important transitional moment in American numismatic history. To understand this coin fully, viewers must step into the background that shaped it, beginning with the legacy of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the evolution of the dime series, and the minting environment of the mid-1970s. The Roosevelt dime entered circulation in 1946, chosen to honor Franklin Roosevelt shortly after his death. He had led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and his connection with the March of Dimes made the 10-cent coin the perfect memorial. From its first year, the design created by John R. Sinek featured Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse and a torch oak branch and olive branch on the reverse, symbolizing liberty's strength and peace. For 3 decades, the design remained mostly unchanged, and by the time the United States reached 1976, the Roosevelt dime had already become one of the most familiar coins in American pockets. The 1970s brought significant historical and economic challenges, including inflation, energy shortages, and ongoing monetary adjustments. The Coinage Act of 1965 had removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters, shifting production to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change affected how coins wore aged and survived, and it also influenced minting quality as the mint continued refining its processes. By 1976, the Philadelphia Mint was running at maximum capacity, not only striking dimes, but also producing special bicentennial issues for other denominations, which created a heavy production load across all facilities. The 1976 P dime was part of that year's extensive output, yet it quietly played a role in the broader story of coinage during America's bicentennial period. Unlike the quarter, which featured a drummer boy, the dime maintained its classic Roosevelt design, but even so, the bicentennial year increased interest in all circulating coins, including the dime, as collectors paid close attention to mintage's quality and variations. The Philadelphia Mint at this time had no mint mark, so every dime struck without a mark from 1980 to earlier years, including 1976, is understood to be a Philadelphia issue. This mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes that year, each made from a copper core bonded to outer copper-nickel layers with a total weight of 2.27 grams and a diameter of 17.91 millimeters. While the design itself remained standard, the production, methods, and die conditions of the mid-1970s led to a variety of strikes, with some coins appearing sharply detailed while others show weakness, particularly around the hair, the torch, and the lettering. These differences make the 1976 P dime interesting to collectors who enjoy searching through circulation for well-struck examples. Many coins from this year show die fatigue, a natural result of heavy use, where the highest points of the design appear soft or slightly mushy. Other coins may show minor die cracks, die clashes, or planchet issues, all of which give collectors additional points of study. The bicentennial year also saw increased numismatic interest nationwide, which meant that more people than usual saved coins from their change. Although the 1976 P dime is not rare, it is one of the dimes people often set aside simply because of the historical association with the 200th anniversary of the United States. When discussing the history of this coin, it is important to recognize how circulation patterns in the 1970s influenced the survival of high-grade examples. Many dimes were heavily used during this decade, and finding a clean, uncirculated 1976 P dime with strong luster today is more challenging than most people expect. Coins that remained in bank rolls or forgotten jars fared better, and these account for the nicest surviving pieces. From a numismatic perspective, the 1976 P dime is part of a period when the U.S. Mint was still refining the copper-nickel-clad composition. The clad planchets required different striking pressures and temperatures than silver coins of earlier decades. As the Mint experimented and improved its techniques, the quality of the strike gradually increased, but in 1976, the variation in quality remained noticeable to careful observers. This creates an interesting opportunity for viewers who enjoy variety hunting, as certain 1976 P dimes show small anomalies that can become desirable among specialists. As the nation celebrated the bicentennial, Americans were exposed to a wave of patriotic imagery parades, historical reenactments, and commemorative products. Although the dime did not change visually, it circulated alongside the special quarter, half, and dollar, which created a sense of excitement for collectors and the general public. Many people kept coins from their change simply as souvenirs of the anniversary year. This cultural habit contributed to higher survival rates of lightly circulated dimes compared to some other years of the decade. For your 2-hour style video, this story can expand deeper into the minting technology of the period, the role of Philadelphia Mint employees, the broader economic environment, and Roosevelt's legacy. Franklin Roosevelt's leadership during the New Deal and World War II shaped the modern United States, and the fact that his image appears on a coin minted during the nation's 200th year carries symbolic weight. The dime continued to represent not only his memory, but also the triumphs and struggles of the nation he once guided. The mid-1970s saw evolving public attitudes toward coin collecting as well. The release of bicentennial coinage sparked widespread interest, leading families to search their pocket change for treasures. While the dime remained unchanged, its presence in circulation during this historically charged moment made it part of the broader memory of the era. From production to circulation, the 1976 P. Roosevelt dime reflects a bridge between past and present, linking Roosevelt's post-war legacy with the patriotic fervor of the bicentennial and the technological strides of the modern U.S. Mint. As the years passed, many of these coins continued to circulate quietly through stores, banks, schools, and neighborhoods. Though common today, each surviving example carries with it the story of the year. It was born a year defined by reflection, celebration, and a growing appreciation of the nation's heritage. Collectors today look at the 1976 P dime not only through the lens of rarity, but through its historical context. High-grade examples graded by major services such as MS-66 or higher can be challenging to find because of the softness of strikes typical of the era. When such pieces appear in auctions, they often gain interest from collectors who appreciate the difficulty of locating a crisp, well-struck example. Meanwhile, circulated pieces remain an accessible entry point for new collectors who enjoy holding a small piece of America's bicentennial era. For this narration, you can explore the deeper timeline of the Roosevelt dime, beginning with early 20th century coinage reforms, the transition after the death of Roosevelt, the design process under Cynic, and the reasons the dime became an important symbol in American life. You can also expand upon the political and economic environment of 1976, including inflation rates, employment trends, and public sentiment. Throughout the 70s, coin collecting evolved from a specialized field into a more mainstream hobby thanks to magazines, clubs, coin shows, and the excitement of discovering mint errors or varieties. The 1976 P dime became part of this movement, available to every American who engaged with their pocket change. As your video progresses, you can explore the meaning of the dime in American culture, the reliance on small, denomination coins in daily commerce, and the changes that would follow in the decades to come, including the rise of electronic payments and the shifting role of coinage. The 1976 P dime thus becomes part of a larger story of American history, economics, minting technology, and cultural identity. By the end of your video, viewers will feel they have traveled from the origins of the Roosevelt dime through the bicentennial era and into the coin's modern interpretation, gaining a full appreciation of why this small piece of metal carries such significance. This long narrative approach gives depth, atmosphere, and richness suitable for a full-length history, allowing your channel to engage your audience with detailed storytelling surrounding the 1976 P. Roosevelt dime.